Welcome to From Head to Heart and Home. We are super happy to have you listen in on our conversation today. This channel is created by women for women, empowering them to take intentional action in creating the life that they want. With your hosts, Carla Center, subconscious healer and relationship coach, and myself, Shanda Ceretti, certified transformational coach. So, today, Carla, we have a super fun topic. And for those of you who listened to last week, you might appreciate the perspective we're going to shine today on something. It's kind of going to be a different view on what we talked about last week. And the subject today is all you need is love. And so the idea being that we get to respond to everything with love and from love. So I'm going to let Carla hit it off and let's see where this goes.
Right. This is such a fun subject because it really is about perspective. Because as you respond to people, if you're responding from a place of love and you see things as like, I'm being loving to others and my energy gets to be loving,
Hmm.
going forward, it expands us instead of contracts us and feed into that negativity that we talked about last week. And that's the beauty about responding with love. And one of the first times I was ever taught to do this, I used it because I was the girl with the road rage issue.
Mm.
I'd be so frustrated with people and like I'm pretty sure my kids learned to curse from my road rage, to be honest. And so when you realize that if you go with love and be like, I don't know what's going on with this person, and I'm not going to assume they're trying to be nasty to me, and I'm going to respond to them with love and compassion, and know that I've probably done the same thing when something crazy was going on in my life, and you're just loving towards them, and you're not like, oh, do this, do that, and I'm going to get back at you, but you respond with love, and in this loving way, it releases you from all of those emotions and that energy that comes up when you aren't responding with love.
100%. And, we say this, it sounds easy, right? And it
Mhm.
does sound easier than actually applying it. So I want to just encourage people that, it might feel awkward, it might feel difficult, it might feel hard, but the idea here is just to practice, right? Like whenever we start anything new, it starts by practicing. It starts by doing it messy. It starts by getting it wrong or doing it imperfect. And you'll notice that after you do this response, this love response, you'll actually start to feel good, right? Like you'll actually get, I don't know if I want to say a dopamine hit from it, but when we send out that vibration, we then receive and feel and experience that vibration. We're creating that in our body and then sending it out. So I kind of want to just encourage people to like find out what happens, find out what's true for you. And there's like literally no way you can lose by creating more love in this world. And if you feel like this might be kind of like a difficult task, then there's a saying around like, we can't give what we don't already have. So maybe you're at the very beginning of your journey and that's totally fine. So instead of responding with love, maybe just try responding to yourself with love, right? Instead of going into the self criticism and beating yourself up, try loving on yourself instead. And again, this will be messy, it will be imperfect, but it's all about the practice. So maybe you catch yourself beating yourself up. And then you follow that up with some loving words and some kindness and start there. And then once you feel like, okay, you know what, like I'm getting the hang of this, I understand the concept, then maybe try it with close friends or relatives, right? Start in those safe spaces or with strangers that you'll never see again, right? Like nothing is going to go wrong by doing this. Like you can't be too kind. It kind of doesn't even make sense, right? Kindness is such a beautiful thing to put out into the world. Love is such a beautiful thing to put out in the world. So let's create these higher vibrations so that we can step out of those negative and those lower vibrations.
Right. And if it feels uncomfortable, you can also, because we practice having discussions with people in our head, we can practice that love in our head as well, because that helps it become part of our reaction, because we're like, okay, this, I've already practiced this. I've gotten used to, I've made these neural connections in my brain that this is a possibility for me. And so practice, like if there's a loved one that you would really
Mm.
like to have more loving interactions with, if you practice how it's going to be in your head, because a lot of us, I know for me, I would be like, okay, this is what's going to happen because this is what has happened in the past in the interactions with me and so
Yeah.
and one of the family members. But if what I've done is I've practiced ahead of time, okay, this is how I believe it's going to happen. Here's how I'm going to respond, even if it's something that's exactly the same as before that has really triggered me and taken me down a road I don't like.
Hmm.
And so pre-practicing that kind of stuff like we have, because most of us talk to ourselves in our head about what's coming up. But if we do it and we create something out of love, it really does make it flow differently when we get there because we've
Yeah.
already practiced it.
Yeah. And I love like the whole practice thing is so important. And I mean, we could just talk on this one thing for a whole
Right.
episode, just practicing and being willing to do it messy and all the things. But practicing is important because it's going to, like what you were saying, Carla. It reminds me of, I can't remember who the quote is by, of course, but it's what fires together, wires together. That goes back to the neuroscience, right? So
Yeah.
when we're trying to create those new neural pathways, we have to try new things to create new habits and new neural pathways. And it's uncomfortable because it's not what we're used to. And so we feel the discomfort, we feel the awkwardness, and it's okay, right? Reassure yourself, like, okay, it's okay. It might feel janky, it might feel clunky, it might feel kind of even disconnected, and it's fine. And going back to the practice thing, you might find it harder to practice on yourself first. So if that's the case, then by all means, practice externally with people. If you find it easier to practice with yourself, start there, right? Because there's two ways you can approach it. You can approach it internally or externally, or you can just do both, right? And again, just be willing to try, just be willing to do it messy and carry on. Because, like, listen, messy love is better than no love, right?
Right.
A messy positive vibration is better than a negative vibration, right? So I like all of my controllers out there, recovering one myself. Let's just let go of that need for perfection, the need to do it right, the need to have the control over it and just have fun with it, right? Even like invite some younger parts of you or younger versions of you to come in and kind of play with this and dance with this and find what feels good. Like really stretch yourself into trying new things.
Right. And if you're like, so it's Joe Dispenza.
Mm. Yes, thank you.
What fires together, wires together. So if you want to ever look at, okay, I'm practicing, it's messy, but I don't know why I'm practicing, look up his research,
Mhm.
MRIs of everybody's brain, all of that
Yeah.
beautiful work. But that's how we learn. And if you think about it, since we were a child, the things that we do over and over and over again become easy, and they're just, it becomes part of just how our body reacts, not just our mind. And so remember that the more you use this, the more you are loving and reacting. This is how you will just naturally react and have that vibration that
Mhm.
Shanda's talking about. It will be so natural to you, that love vibration. And it makes, from my own experience, it makes your life so much less heavy.
Mm. Yeah, totally. And I love that you're even sharing like this will when we do this enough, this will become the new reaction. What a beautiful reaction to have. A reaction of like just responding with love all the time. Right? And it doesn't have to be over the top either. I'm just saying like love can be patience. Love
Right.
can be kindness. Love can be forgiveness, like all of the things, right? So I'm going to share the example that Carla and I were talking before we pressed record. I was in a store, a big club store today, and there's great big carts, and it can be chaos in there. Okay, let's just be honest. And I was in there today, and I almost ran into somebody because she wasn't paying attention to her surroundings. But I quickly put on the brakes because I don't want to hit somebody. I don't want to run into somebody's cart. So I saw what was going to happen. And so I quickly stopped. And I didn't even, it was like the strangest thing. I didn't even have a reaction in my body. Like normally in the past, I would have been like in my head, I wouldn't have said anything. I might have been like, um, I might have said something out loud, but who knows? It wouldn't have been anything over the top because I'm just not like that in public. But in my head, let me tell you, there would have been a Rolodex of things rolling around in there, right?
Right.
Like, what the heck? And like, did you not see me? And it was crazy because I don't even know if she did see me. She never acknowledged my presence there at all through the whole thing. And so I just stopped. I had patience. I waited. I let her go in front. Everything was fine. She carried on her way. A gentleman over here started laughing because he couldn't believe what he saw. And I was just like, I'm not going to react to that either. And I carried on my way. And it was like, I stayed calm in my body. And I was like, wow, that was a really nice interaction, even though it could have been very, very much the opposite, right? Just being able to like stay calm and remain like peaceful within, right? Like I said, in the past, it would have been a Rolodex of crazy emotions and thoughts and like, how could she? And blah, 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 like all these negative things just swirling. And I was like, nope, I'm good. Let's go. She clearly needed to go and didn't see me, and I didn't hit her, and we're good.
Right. And you saved your fight or flight
Yeah.
hormones that come out when you do that. And what people don't realize unless they've done a lot of studying, a lot of work is that's hard on your body to do that. There's a reason we have them for
Yeah.
when there is seriously a danger. But the fact that when you've reconditioned yourself, because our body's been conditioned to have that, like from different stuff that's
Right.
happened to us. But now, like, because Shanda's practiced this for a while, and this is how she reacts now. You know what I mean? And to have grace with others and grace with yourself is such a beautiful thing. It is so loving. And it's not saying, people should treat people badly. That is not at all what we're saying. But what we're saying is that lady probably had 5,000 things on her
Yeah.
mind. That's why she didn't acknowledge you, because she's so in her head about stuff that she didn't know you were there. And if you would have reacted, she probably wouldn't have even noticed. So you gave your power to somebody who didn't even
Yeah.
know they took your power.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being like, okay, I don't know what's going on with her. It doesn't really matter. I'm okay. I don't know if she's okay. She probably is, but it just happened. It's not going to affect my day. I get to be loving to her and just move forward with my day and be grateful that I didn't have to feel all those feelings in my body and have all those thoughts in my head.
Yeah. And when we like give in to the negativity too, we only perpetuate the that energy. So, had I reacted, it would have just been perpetuating that energy. And I'm like, I don't want to create more of that. And I don't want to take that into my day. Right. And so, like you were saying, Carla, like the fight or flight, the fear response, right? It's something that is necessary in the right times, but our brain doesn't know when those right times are. And that's why we are in that state so much more than what we should be, right? All it takes is like our body to respond in a certain way, and it like opens that up, right? So being able to recognize like, hey, I have control over this situation. I don't want to feel out of control. I don't want to feel scared. There's no reason to feel scared or feel whatever, right? And like I had a similar situation happen where when I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, and I had somebody kind of like verbally, I'll say verbally, like come at me right out of nowhere. And I might have shared this last week, I can't recall now, but um I was like, what the heck? Okay. And but I remained calm. I didn't react. I was just like, this is really out of nowhere, like really in left field, and I'm choosing not to engage with it. There's a reason why this person is feeling these feelings and having these thoughts and needing to share whatever they're sharing, and I'm going to hold space for that sharing, but I'm not going to contribute to that conversation with negative energy. And what happened was, once again, by not contributing in that negative way, right, by bringing the love, it dissipated and it stopped when it could have very easily turned into a heated argument, because this is a family member. So it could have really easily went there had I just done this, just leaned in a little bit, right? I'm sure.
Which could have meant it would still be going on, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
instead it stopped there. And that's the thing. And the same with when Shanda was talking about loving yourself earlier. I had a family member who said what a horrible day they had. And so I asked them what happened. And there were two things to me were minor and could have easily been fixed. But for them, nothing could go right that day because of those things. Because instead of being loving to themselves, they were super harsh. I can't touch anything today. I'm just ruining everything today. And I'm like, really? That doesn't seem to me like you ruined everything. But that's what the frame of mind we get. And that energy goes into even our next day because we're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do today that's wrong? But if
Right.
we're loving to ourselves, we're like, okay, well, maybe that didn't turn out right. That's okay. I learned something from it.
Hmm.
Let's go on to what's going forward.
Yeah. And it's interesting when you're saying like their experience and then your perspective being like, oh, well, that doesn't sound so bad. We will never, ever know what is going on in someone's brain, even if they choose to share some of it with us. We'll never
Hmm.
know. We only know what
Yeah,
they're telling us. So
right.
that's why I'm like, just be kind. Just be kind because in the end, that is what matters. Is our kindness, the love that we're able to give. And the best thing about being kind and showing love to people is that it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't take away from anything. It's going to add value in so many ways in your life and other people's lives. And what a great role model for other people to see, whether you have kids, whether you have a big family, whether you want to inspire other people to be a living example of love and generosity and kindness. That's such a beautiful thing. So let's stretch into creating more and more of that as much as we can, everywhere we can, with any opportunity, right? It's like, I don't know about you guys, but I've always been one of those people where I'm like, ooh, I like what she's wearing, or ooh, I like that outfit, or I like that color on that person, or whatever, but would be too shy in the past to say that, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, give people those compliments, right?
Right.
Like, you never know how far that will go for someone else on the receiving end of that. Acknowledging people, saying, thank you, looking at people in the eyes and saying hello, like people who greet you at stores or check your receipts at stores. I'm always so kind to those people. I connect with those people, even if it's just for a moment, because I'm like, I see you. You're a person.
Right.
Even homeless people, I say hi. Even if I don't have change to give them, I still say hi. How are you? I connect with people, right? And
Right.
like it means so much. Like I see you. You're a human
Right.
too, like me.
Right. Right. And we know what it's like to be seen and to see others is such a beautiful connection. Whereas when we're putting out the negative energy, we're draining ourselves, as we talked about last
Mhm.
week. You're completely draining ourselves. But when you are this loving, kind, compassionate, connecting with others, your energy grows and their energy grows in a very positive way.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, what you're saying about draining, when we're not being authentic, if that's what you were referring to as well, when we hold ourselves back from doing those things, we're like, ooh, I want to compliment this person, or I want to say thank you, or I want to hold the door. When we don't do those things, we're being ingenuine, right? We're being inauthentic. And that is painful. That's so painful. So it's like why and why would we hold back from that generosity and that kindness, right? Like really think about it. I think it comes down to we hold back from being kind and generous and loving to ourselves, and then we mirror that outside of ourselves as well, just like what I said at the very beginning. Well, we don't have, we can't give, right? And so for me, I've been doing this work for so many years now that like things do eventually click, right? And now it's like the things click so much that it's the new habit, it's the new way of being. This is just who I am now. And it feels good, right?
Right. And when Shanda talks about not being authentic, being inauthentic, the truth is that we deep down, all of us, no matter who you are and what your current habits are, we are these kind people deep down. Unfortunately, all
Yeah.
of these different things have happened to us. We've been taught a certain way, and this is a protective mechanism,
Yeah.
just like the shyness is. And so the more you practice it, um, the more you do it, and the reason why it ends up coming so easily is not only because new neurons have, neural pathways have created, we've made practice so it's easy. It's because your authentic self is finally coming out. You're
Yeah.
finally feeling safe enough to just be you, to show your beautiful light to somebody else in a way that you're not like, ooh, I'm going to judge how they're going to react, so I got to be careful on what I do.
Yeah. And like you're saying, I'm just going to add to it. Our natural state of being is love. Everything else is learned. And the
Yes.
beautiful thing about knowing this, like, guys, listen up. Our natural state is a state of love. Everything else is learned. And what we have learned, we can unlearn, right? This is that rewiring. This is exactly what I do with my clients. We rewire your thoughts, your belief systems, your identity, and we create a whole new experience. And it is mind blowing. I'm telling you, it's mind blowing. I wish that I could implant a sliver of the person that I used to be into all of the people that I interact with so that they really understood the type of person that I was. Not that I was a bad person, but like how I experienced life and the way that I was being. I wish I could share that with people so intimately. But it's so different from the person that I am today, right? And that's what I get to share with people. That's the work that I get to do with my clients and with people who decide that it resonates and they want to follow along too, right?
Right. And that's one of the reasons we do what we do,
Mm.
because we've experienced it. It's not because we came out this happy, loving person and things were easy for us. And so we thought, well, everybody should be like us. No, we've been there. We've been through the struggles. That's why we say, hey, practice, have grace, have compassion for yourself, because we've been there, and we know how easy it is to judge yourself when you're like, okay, I'm going to try this and it was messy.
Mm.
Okay, it was messy.
Yeah.
And that's why I always go back to childhood so that people really remember and resonate. Oh, yeah, this was hard when I first started,
Mm. Yeah.
but it becomes easier. And it all of a sudden, you don't have to think. It's like driving a car. Driving a
Mm.
car is not easy at first. And then the next thing you know, you're driving all over the place and you don't have to think about it. It is just part of what you do.
Right. Yeah. So let's do more of that, right? And I honestly I feel like this is such a hot topic, and I honestly feel like there's maybe more that we could add to it, but I think our goal today was to like really condense this message down as much as we could. So I'd love to know if there's anything else that you feel like you want to share on this topic before we complete this conversation.
In in doing the love, also become aware of when you're not reacting in that love, and be like, okay, I didn't react in love. I want to next time. How could I have done it differently? Just so that you can
Yeah.
start practicing in your mind, okay, what could I have done differently? Just so that you can and have grace for yourself. That's part of that, loving yourself, and just be like, okay, how could I have done it differently? Not to criticize yourself, but to start creating those new pathways, to start finding where your next step is.
Yeah.
We take baby steps sometimes, and that's how we get to the new things.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just want to encourage everybody um to really embrace the concept of all you need is love. There's a reason I think the Beatles wrote that song, right? All you need is love. So thank you so much for tuning into our channel From Head to Heart and Home with Carla and I. We've enjoyed this conversation. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation. If you have, feel free to share this with someone. You never know who could really benefit from hearing these types of conversations. So feel free to share the podcast, the episode with others. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead, click the button below so that you get all of our notifications and all of our episodes, which come out weekly. And we hope to see you next week for another authentic and connected conversation. Bye bye for now, everyone.